and welcome to Plugging Along, a stream dedicated to LOTRO plugins. Last time on Plugging Along, we worked on updating the Deed Tracker plugin with the Update 37 roundabout deeds, and that included both Mariner and River Hobbit, which were noticeably absent. But today we're going to pivot to the Festival Buddy 2 plugin because it's Harvestmath time. We're going to see which improvements we've made for Midsummer and Spring Festival, the Maze map, and see what we can use here in Harvestmath. As always, feel free to jump into chat with your thoughts and questions. And in the meantime, we have several people in chat saying hello. Hello there, Momcat. Hello there, Vinman. Let's go ahead and move that window over. Come on over. So I am not personally raising money for Extra Life, but if you do have a desire to donate money for children's hospitals, feel free to use Little Redhead's link. I put it there in the chat, extra-life.org/participant/little LIL Redhead, REDHEAD. She'd be tickled pink if any money that would have been directed at me gets directed to her instead. Or, of course, any of the streamers for Standing Stone Games would be delighted to have it. But really, if you're donating money for children's hospitals, that's the important thing. That's what's awesome. Okay, so here we are standing at the party tree outside the cellar door leading to the Haunted Burrow. And I was thinking about doing Haunted Burrow stuff today. Oh, and Dan Pahatia says, is Little Redhead still there? I nearly forgot to ask, have you been to Zvala? I can answer for Little Redhead. She has been to Zvala, between Zvala and a specific commercial section near Zvala, about 10 minutes walk, and back to the train station. No, we've actually done more than that. When we adopted our two cats from an animal shelter, that animal shelter was in Zvala, and still is as far as we know. Haven't checked. Hopefully they are. And a friend of ours was kind enough to give us a lift via a car because the animal shelter asked that we maybe not take the cats on a train to get home for their first trip away from the animal shelter. And we were like, all right, whatever. You know the animals better than we do. Fine. So a friend drove us to the animal shelter in Zwolle and back home again. So we've been to the IND office. Yes, and we've been to the Immigratie Naturalisatiedienst, immigration department. We've been to their offices as well. Tillarian says, I tried to add a German translation, but had a problem at using the emote since the buttons show the right emote, but if it contained a special character, clicking would not work. What an interesting challenge, Tillarian. I have someone's German translations for Festival Buddy sitting in my downloads folder waiting to do something with it. It might have been yours. I'd have to go back more than a week in my memory, and I've had a pretty chaotic set of weeks here. That's an interesting one. Let me save off your quote there, Tellurian, in my list of things to think about for this plugin. Alicia said, just made a warden on Arkenstone. Should I go blue or red? Plan to do Fearless once I get a chance. Is Fearless... Oh, man. I have to remember what things are. All right. Florence. I just got to remember what level things are. So, I haven't played much of Warden, but my general experience is that if you plan to do a lot of solo stuff on Landscape, at the basic difficulty level, red's usually a fun choice to go, with lots of damage. Fearless. Okay, Fearless is the minimum you need to do to get your Landscape difficulty deeds. Awesome. Good choice for that. I don't know about the survivability for Wardens on difficulty 3, but I will say that if you are comfortable with MMOs in general, LOTRO in specific, and especially if you're comfortable with the class that you're playing, although if this is your first Warden, maybe you won't be quite yet, I don't feel like Fearless is especially challenging compared to your base. Like, you will notice the difference, but it's not like a one-hit kill kind of thing the way it might feel if you're doing difficulty 9 and wander out of Archet and just, like, die. So I would say go red until you feel like you have survivability issues. Or if you're grouping up with people and have different roles. Because I assume, in my mind's eye, that red is the more DPS-oriented and blue is the more tanky-oriented. So if you are a subscriber, you do have access to two different traits configurations for, well, not necessarily for free, but included as part of your subscriber benefits. So if you're a subscriber, spec one out blue, spec one out red, and then swap between them as you feel are necessary. One thing of note is that anywhere where you can group up with other people for landscape play, you'll have to deal with your chosen difficulty level. But if you are forced into an instance that is part of a quest chain, as a general rule, your landscape difficulty will fall off with no penalty to you. You get it back when you exit the instance. And so, as a minstrel difficulty 7, I find it difficult to defeat things and stay alive. Like if I'm in my red stance of DPS stance, then I have survivability issues, and if I'm in survivability, I just cannot damage them very fast. But as soon as I am forced to split away from my other party members who are helping me stay alive and do damage, it's no problem because I can go back to slaughtering things on difficulty 0. So that would be my general advice. If you are not a subscriber or otherwise only have one trait tree, start with red, see how survivability goes. If you feel like, oh, I'm not even going to make to level 20 before I get defeated, yeah, maybe I'll go respec as blue. If you have access to both of them, just swap back and forth freely whenever the situation merits. Cool. Monkcat says, thank you for adopting from a shelter. Well, you are welcome. No, we appreciate there's a pressure on the shelter systems that, especially in the United States, where I got a lot of impressions of cat life. And we appreciate there are some people who, for one reason or another, need specific qualities in an animal, a cat or a dog, that make it harder to go to a shelter. And we, as a general rule, don't have those restrictions. So, yeah, a shelter seems like a pretty natural fit for us. You help out with your cat rescues. Awesome. Delirium says you're going to send the quest string and string again if you like. I see you've sent them on Discord. Thanks very much. I will probably not poke at them on stream because I could install WinRAR to crack those zips open, or those compressed files open, but I will be taking a look at them because I'm hoping to do a release of Festival Buddy before this festival's over so people can make use of it before next year. That would be nice. Okay. Holy moly. Alicia says your cat was a rescue from a storm pipe, and she's almost 19 now. Well, that is awesome. I know every cat's lifespan is its own little thing, but 19 sounds like a nice, healthy old age. Okay, so just in case you did not know, if you are trying to find your friendly local hardened traveler, I do recommend the Thorin's Hall destination. For any of the characters who can earn the return to Thorin's Hall skill via reputation. I don't know if dwarves can, but every other race can. And it's pretty simple to earn. You get Kindred at Thorin's Hall, you turn on 100 of those tokens that you can get from Sarnar or other places really fast. And bam, you've got a swift travel to about 10 meters away from your friendly local hardened traveler. But we don't want to be there. We want to be by the party tree. So, let's get ourselves to the party tree. If you're not a hunter with a campsite fire bound to the party tree, then do remember your far-ranging stable masters do have swift travel to the party tree. Again, for those people who have swift travel enabled. Oh, good. Agartha says both regular and startup dwarves can get them as a racial skill. Fantastic. I was hoping that was the case. All right, so come on down to the party tree and travel. Jillian says, that's why I wanted to get you a German translation so Germans may take advantage of the update. Absolutely. The extra ASCII characters that you're talking about are interesting, and I'm gonna have to dig into that to discover what the problem is and how to deal with it. Okay, so my first thought today was going in and adding maps of the haunted burrow and maybe walkthroughs and that sort of thing. But then at the last minute, Little Redhead was mentioning the corn maze, which I'd kind of forgotten, and might be kind of nice to get added to our maze map system. So Unless people are clamoring in chat for a reversal of this direction, I think that's going to be my first step. And I'll probably use Garlo's maps that I think Little Redhead, they were linked on Little Redhead's streams, and they look like this. So anyone who didn't already see them, I'm going to try to extract these maps out and present the correct one and be able to show you where you are in the map. But the first thing that we need to do is to say, hey, can we just walk in here without a quest? Hey, we can. That's going to make life a lot easier. And the second thing we want to do is, can we do a /LOC and get something reasonable? Well, we get something. Awesome. And the last thing we need to do is we need, as a plugin, we need to be able to tell which map we are in. Now, once you know what today's map is, it's some simple math to know what tomorrow's map is. Or if we're 3 days from now and we knew what the map was 2 days ago, what the map will be at any given time, for instance. So if you can take the information in these maps and find a fast way to differentiate between them, you might be able to present a user interface to the user and say, hey, walk forward and turn left, and what do you see? If you see open on the left, open on the right, and a wall forward, and if you turn to the right and you see wall on the right, wall forward, well, it turns out that uniquely identifies which of these mazes you're in. So, first of all, open left, open right, we can see that's not maze number 1. That could be maze number 2. We can see it could be maze number 3. It's not maze number 4, and it's not maze number 5. Okay, so it's either 2 or 3. But remember, on the other side, we have a wall on the right, wall straight ahead. Well, that means it can't be maze number 2. It must be maze number 3. Today's maze is number 3. Super easy. And so, in my head, if we can present that to the user, hey, I don't know what today's maze is. Please tell me what you see when you walk into the maze. And then from then on, for that festival anyway, we can just do calculations. The maze at this time was this, therefore at this time it is that. So that's a theory I have. I don't know if that's going to be a today thing to discriminate which map to show, but I think that's a thing that we can work on. And then that does lead to the follow-up. Can you get out this way? Okay, good. That does lead to a follow-on question of, if the maze today is maze number 1, and we go in multiples of 5 forward, so 6 days from now, we know that's going to also be maze 1, but 600 days from now, is that also maze 1? Is it kind of deterministic, or is the starting maze of a new festival random, but then from there on? Zillion says, keep in mind, mazes might be different from server to server. For instance, why here maze today is number 1. Absolutely, it's a great point. One of the neat things we have available to us as plugin designers is the choice of in account-wide, server-wide, or character-specific locations to store data. So I would absolutely store what is today's maze in the server-specific information so that any character on that server can take advantage of it, but you do have to self-identify what the maze is on the next server you go to. But then the idea is that the plugin would keep being able to calculate that. So yeah, one question I have in my head, and I don't think it's answerable right now, is if you were 6 days from now, let's see, 366 divided by 6, is that evenly? Great. Okay, so if you were, no, it has to be 5. Yeah, okay, so if you were 366 days forward from now, would that be maze 3 in the next Harvestmath festival? Or does it kind of reset to a random value at the start of each Harvestmath, and then you have to figure it out? So by default, I would assume yes, maybe? But the cost for that being wrong is annoying. So I would probably say, hey, if it's been more than 60 days since that stored value, just wipe it out and assume it's no good anymore. And then you just have to do that once a year. But I'm curious now. So I might have to do some spreadsheet documentation of where the mazes are for each server that I have a character on anyway today, and then do the math a year from now and see what's up with that. Put it on my long-term to-do list. Okay, so when you are picking up the quest for this, you have Challenging Wheat and you have Cheat of the Wheat. But it doesn't tell you which day it is. Now, under the covers, if you haven't completed the wrapper deeds for these before, I believe it's going to fill that in for you. But I don't know if those deeds are... I don't remember if those deeds are public before they're completed. Lynn asks, when will we be able to play LOTRO on Mac M2? To my knowledge, there is nothing stopping anyone from running LOTRO within virtual machines on Macintosh. I think several people are using emulators to emulate a Windows environment and then playing LOTRO within that. If your question is, when will you be able to play it natively on Mac M2, I think the answer is Standing Stone Games doesn't have any plans to support that in the near future. I'm not a spokesperson for SSG. I have no official knowledge, but a year or two ago, they decided to drop explicit support for a Mac client. And I assume what they did was looked at the number of subscribers on Mac versus subscribers on Windows and look at the cost of supporting Mac and decided that that was not a good solution for them going forward, given that on Mac you can have a Windows environment. I don't know the specifics of it, but that's the impression I got from I think some forum posts at the time. So yeah, I guess the answer to your question is you technically can now, but not natively. But check the LOTRO forums if you're interested to be able to play LOTRO on your Mac. There are people out there who have successfully accomplished that through emulators and who can hopefully provide you a guide forward. Yeah. I have seen how some of Mac updates can make maintaining applications on a Mac frustrating. Big Sur and Sonoma both broke some applications that I interact with, and that's active developer hours that went to that instead of other things. Okay, neat. So let's take a look at Festival Buddy. Within Festival Buddy, there's extra life stuff there. All right, you're going to go somewhere else. Within Festival Buddy, there is a drop-down at the top that lets you specify which festival you're doing right away, instead of having to wait to pick up a quest. And so, for instance, if we're doing spring, and then a drop-down in the middle, it lets you select which quest you're on. And what we did way back when was added a maze map when you are doing something in the maze. And if you're doing something that recommends a specific route through the maze, then we would load a version of the map that had that information. So for instance, if you're trying to do the fastest route through the maze, well, my personal opinion is it's this one in brown. Or if you're trying to do the green challenge, don't forget to stop at the keg first and then continue to run out. Let's see. Fool's Errand? Is that in there? Laugh of the Lost, that's one of the ones. So if you're doing the 10 signposts in the maze, we switch to a version of the map that has those signposts. And these are all saved as their own image files, and so it's just a question of which one do we load into the map. And then Misplaced Companions, each one of the elves has their own little route they walk through in the maze. And so using some resources on the wiki, we were able to make a version of this map that has those paths. And so you don't know where on the paths they are, but once you get to this path, you can use your target nearest NPC key to find, or target next NPC maybe, to find them. Because there might be chickens or tweens in the way. Okay, so my thought was, hopefully this isn't too hard-coded to spring. It almost certainly is, but this will be a chance for us to go ahead and refactor the code to support multiple festivals, multiple mazes, and that'll be really helpful. Oh, when you first load Festival Buddy, you get an icon to raise and lower the main screen. It looks like a firework. Awesome. Oh, Little Redhead has pointed out that the LOTRO freebie for the week is a speed boost. All right, I'm game. If you don't know how to use that in the new store, launch the new store and look at the bottom left for the redeem code. Go ahead and type it in, speed boost. And coupon's not found. What is going on here? Are we still on track? Okay. Well, ignore that free coupon code until we get that sorted out. Oh, case sensitive. Who would do that? Hey, it's case sensitive. That was unexpected, but thank you for pointing that out, both Egg Arthur and Telerian. That'll teach me to not just copy paste the thing. And I tell people all the time, don't type things, just copy paste them. But then I think, hey, it's one word. It's just a few characters. Okay, so you type it in correctly. Maybe just copy paste it from wherever you got the code. Hit the little button and it gets redeemed. You'll find it usually is delivered to your inventory if it is the kind of thing that sits in an inventory. And in this case, 5 combat run speed boosts. Now, I don't actually want those in my inventory, so I'm going to go ahead and toss those here. Uh-oh, they don't stack with my 32 other ones because they're account purchased from store. That's a sad thing. But whenever you have that situation, just burn through the purchase from store ones first. Easier. Oh, I got this has been case sensitive since the new store. Okay, thank you. That explains that, why I was surprised by that. Okay, well, we're going to go ahead and close that down. All right, so that's the idea. We're going to go ahead and start by lifting Garlo's map here. For the mazes. Now, it is quite possible to go and create one of these by hand, and maybe I'll do that for the fun of it someday. But for now, these look really cool and have the information we need. So the key will just be figuring out which one to show. We know that today is Maze 3, so that's the only one I'm going to be worried about. Oh, hey. Maybe Garlo's already gotten the files that I need. Neat. Alright, Garlo, if this is a virus, I'll be very put out with you. Ooh. It's not. Okay. So, Garlo was kind enough to render each of these layers. Yeah, okay. Yeah, we can work with that. Okay, so what Garlo was kind enough to share with me here is the background. Oh, God, stop opening everywhere there. The background from each of these, which has the little breakpoints in them, and then the mazes that are rendered on top of those backgrounds, and then what they look like together, I think. Yeah, that's cool. We can see how those superimpose on each other just like that. And I will play with those later. For right now, thank you so much for sending those, Garlo. For right now, we're going to go ahead and be really lazy about this. And just copy that whole thing into MS Paint and crop out what we need. Cool. Okay, so what do we need is a good question. And to answer that, I would say I don't know, but it worked already once. So let's go see what we did before. So we're going to go into plugins. This is Cube Plugins, Festival Buddy 2. And in our source files, well, let's go into resources for a minute. Quest Maps, Midsummer, everything is there. It looks like the maze map should have been placed differently. That's very sad. But in the meantime, let's go ahead and open up something that can do TGA files. In this case, the GNU Image Manipulation Program, or GIMP. Or if you like you're pronouncing your G's differently, I guess you could do jimp. Okay, so we can see that this image is 500 by 500 pixels. Great, that's going to make it nice and easy to make a new one. So first of all, we have quest maps. That really should have gone into, I'm guessing, Spring. This is also going to go into Harvestmath. Harvestmath. Great. And from here, we're going to be able to start making our files. So let's go ahead and make a new file. It's 500 by 500. That's exactly what we want. And we can go ahead and just copy this in here. And we can see right now Garlow's is a little bit bigger than what we want it to be. That's okay. We can resize it for right now. Again, we're doing the super duper easy mode version of this. So just see roughly how big is it. We can see it's about 570 pixels. That's fine. So we want it to be 500. It is 570. We're going to just shrink it that down to about 88% of what it currently is. So layer, scale that layer down to, whoop, got to go ahead and change to percent, and we're going down to 88%. You can do decimal points, but keep in mind we're dealing with a fixed number of pixels. It's going to round these percentages to the nearest thing that is actually going to be exact values. So it can't get 88%, but it can get 88.02%. Close enough. Let's see. Can I? Interesting. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and scale that, and then that will give us something that should fit pretty nicely in here. Awesome. So let's go ahead and save this before I get too far. We're in Documents. We're going to go into Lord of the Rings Online. Again, we're in Plugins, Cube Plugins. It's me, Festival Buddy, and we're going to go into Source Files. And for here, we're going to go ahead and create, this is Harvestmath, and we're going to go ahead and say Tanglecorn all. Great. But now we can go ahead and export the visible section. Is it the visible section? It probably is. Export as, and here we're going to come on into Resources, Quest, Harvestmath, and this is going to be Tanglecorn 1. Now, in my mind's eye, what I really want to do is have a version of this for the cheat and a version of this for the not cheat. And so having those layer files from Garlow is going to be really nice, because then I can just only have the green line or only have the dotted line. But for right now, having them both in there, it's not too big of a deal. So we're going to just export this as Tanglecorn 1, but remember that we want to do a TGA file. And accepting the defaults is fine. Cool. In fact, if we go ahead and duplicate this and then crop this layer, crop to content, nope, layer to image size, there we go, then we can just go ahead and do that as Tanglecorn 1. And now this is still all of them, and so that'll let us replicate our work if something goes wrong, and it usually does. And so we can go ahead and duplicate this. And now this is Tanglecorn 2. And we can do the same thing here where we go ahead and export as, we're going to export Tanglecorn2.tga, accept those default settings, and we're good. Nope. Tanglecorn 3. All right, so duplicate that. Tanglecorn 3. I'm remembering now I didn't actually crop the Tanglecorn 2 layer. We're going to go ahead and layer to image size. And I'm just cropping, there's no good reason to do it. I don't know why I'm doing it, but I am. Image size. I mean, the bad reason is I'm doing it because I don't want to store like 5 different copies of this image. But that doesn't really make a lot of sense. I've got plenty of disk space. So I'm going to go with habit. I'm tidying up preemptively, even though I don't need to. Learn from my mistake. Don't do that. All right. Here's map number 4. duplicate, and same thing, Tanglecorn 4, and layer crop, layered image size. There we go. And so this last one, in fact, I will go ahead and do the same thing and keep one whole copy of the whole thing, but I won't be using it. Okay. For this particular endeavor. So this is Tanglecorn 5. Excellent. We're going to go ahead and duplicate that. Tanglecorn 5. And we also just have all maps just for reference for later. Okay, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Great. So we're going to go ahead and save that and get rid of it. All right, so we have the images now that we want in order to put into here. And apparently someone has knocked me over. All right, that happens. I guess I could be all festive and dress up like Sarah Oakart. Shum. Spooky. Okay, so right now we have a window called Hedge Maze Map. That's not going to work. We're going to need that to be Tanglecorn. So we also have images that are loaded in here. So what we need to know is how hard-coded is what we have here. Is the window always called Hedge Maze Map, or is that customizable? Is the window always assuming the upper left-hand corner is in Brie, or is that customizable? And if it's not customizable, we have some work cut out for us. Now, we're about to start looking at code. First thing I want to do is go look. It's been a while. Let's go look at our source control and see what kind of a mess we have here. And we can see we have something misplaced, something blue from Midsummer. There were some changes that was being made here. And looks like a tweaking of a quest chain. Okay, so final Midsummer changes. Let's go ahead and say we're getting that one, and integrated quick guide. Sure, cool. Midsummer updated a chain, yep. A TGA quest map. I wonder if I can check out the diff here. Yes, I can. This is Beyond Compare, highly recommended as a file comparison utility. It's quite good at recognizing file formats that I don't know about. And we can see here, it's going to show a diff in red. The more different, the more red it is. And we can see here that we added another location for what's-his-face to spawn in over on the right side, showing that there are indeed 3 places to spawn for each of the cloudy heads. Not gourd. I don't know who number 2 is. Anyway, so that was the difference. We just added that in. That's a good difference to have. Fantastic. All right, so, and we've made some changes to the to-do file since then, but we'll get to that in a moment. So Harvestmath. I don't think I need that right now, but I don't want to delete it right now either. Deal with that later. Okay, so final Midsummer changes. Great. Hey, there's a cat sitting over there. I wonder if I can rotate this around. Hey, what's up? Okay. Well, unusual for her to be sitting there, but cool. All right. To-do file changes. We're going to go ahead and just commit that. Look at it later. Initial Tanglecorn images. Like I said, I want to break these out into 2 different versions, but we can deal with that later. The important thing is we have a starting point. So we're going to go ahead and commit those in. Great. Now, I was in the middle of playing around with some minstrel buff stuff. D-Tracker has its globals. I'm just going to stash all that away if I can. So we're going to come ahead in here. Not staging, stashing. Why are 2 things that do such different things named so close? We're going to stash those. All right, and then we're going to call that D-Tracker and minstrel buff in work. Great. Okay. I don't think that I need that. That was an experiment. Okay, cool. So we have a clean working directory. Always lovely to have. I'm going to go ahead and push out the existing changes. Maybe. All right. That's a clean working change, and we're ready to go. Clean working directory is always nice to have because then it's super easy to undo whatever mistakes you make. All right, so we're looking at Festival Buddy, and what we have is something called Maze Map Window. That's going to be the key thing that we're working with today. And so the first thing we can do is answer the question, where's the title of this coming from? Because Maze Map Win, we're doing a form of not object-oriented programming in the sense of having these all be wrapped up in an object that is a window. Instead, we have a global object here that is a type window, and these functions are acting on it. So more of a C-style object-oriented. And we can see we have set text hedge maze map. Well, that's the first thing we got to change. We're going to need a customized way of telling what the map is, because while it's technically true that this is a hedge maze, and so maybe I don't need to worry about that right now, it would be nice if it was Tanglecorn. Okay, so that's a first thought, is set text, all right, to do, make this customizable. Little Redhead asks, is it amazing? And I gotta say, I don't know, because there's no tweens here letting me know. Over and over and over and over. Okay, within this window is a window which is the map. And this is a map instead of a control due to some constraints of making things appear on top of other things, I believe. Sure would have been nice if I documented it. I think this is a window for stuff showing on top of other stuff, question mark. Okay. We have a point for showing where you are in the map. You know what? Let's pop our way over and look at this working in the Breetown Hedge Maze. If it lets us go in there, that'd be even better. Right, can't mount a horse. Okay, remember you have swift travel to the Breeland Festival grounds, which requires human form, which does give us important information about Sarah Oakhart. There we go. She's an elf. Okay. Let's go on over to the maze here, see what we see. Okay. Hey, you can go in here. Good to know. So what we have here is we have the point on the map. It can look at your /LOC commands and it can show you where you are. Fantastic. Just what we want. And it's roughly accurate because we were roughly accurate when describing in the plugin where the upper left and lower right corners of this map exist. And with that and with some math, we can determine where to place an arrow based off of that. Fantastic. Let's go ahead and come back to code. Okay, so what other things do we care about customizing? And I think the answer is not a lot's going on here. We have the map itself. We're doing some logic to get image sizes. Interesting. And then scaling it up to a value of 36. Cool. Okay. And then map point, doing all of that. We fade it out over time, and this is a feature I wanted to add because unless you are standing still, and you might be, but if you're running around the maze, then the accuracy of this arrow gets steadily worse over time, and so the longer it's been / an LOC, the less you should rely on that value. And so we go ahead and fade it out after a couple of seconds. I liked that better than starting to fade out right away because, for the first second or so, it's pretty accurate. And so there's some explanation of logic here that gradually fades us out after a certain amount of time. And so between seconds 3 and 5, we do a fade out, a linear fade out. Okay. All right. We want to know when we're moving and when we're closing. All that seems pretty reasonable. Setting stuff visible, sure, that's great. All of this sounds fine. We added in the ability for rotating the map. I remember this now. And so Festival of Buddy, you could choose which direction was up if for some reason you wanted to have east being up, which is kind of understandable because you're running in that direction. And in fact, one of the maps that I was working with for the longest time on the wiki, my favorite map on there was oriented east up. And so I figured this would be a good option to have for those people like me who were trained on that map. And then I saw a beautiful, gorgeous artwork based off this map that had south as up. And I was just like, what is up with people? So I could believe any of those would be used. West is up, just, I don't know. Sure, why not? Then the top of the maze where you enter is, whatever. And then I added a random feature because I thought that was funny. So if you want to challenge yourself, you can do that. Okay. So refreshing my memory, done. Maze map, move map point. Okay. Unrotated X, unrotated Y. Cool. What is this? Where is this called? Maze map, handle standard chat message. Okay. So we get the coordinates by parsing the message. We get the pixels by calling a function pixels from cowords. And here is the trouble, is this is hard-coded to the Bree map. And it's the things we need in order to be able to translate that message correctly for whatever map we're dealing with. So this needs to come from somewhere else. So, new question. Where is draw maze map when being called? Probably right away. Okay, we always have a maze map. If this were a little bit more object-oriented, I'd be tempted to make sure that you just create one when needed, but no, having just one is fine. We don't need to show more than one at a time until we do. So this is always live, and so this function pixels from cowords, we need to reliably pass something into it based off of information that's been loaded in. So when we load a festival that has a maze map, these need to get loaded in to the maze map win parent. So there needs to be a parameter here. And we could have maze map win parent west, north, east, south, but I'll probably want to pack them into something like cowords. So for instance, it would look like the maze map win parent cowords equals a table. So we're going to make sure that's initialized. Fields cannot be injected into the reference of LOTRO window for cowords? What are you talking about? Did I spell it wrong? What are you talking about? I really feel like I can do that. Okay, that's bonkers. I think it's saying I should do that in the constructor. Oh no, it's the same thing there too. All right, well that's fine. We're gonna say this is corner chords, and it's okay. So we're gonna go ahead and make a table for these to live in, and we'll even go ahead and make a custom function for the setting of this. So that's just going to be function maze map set corner coordinates. Okay, and what is that going to look like? Well, probably just pass the 4 values in. I think that'll be a little bit easier. So it'll look like this. So you just gotta kind of arbitrarily have to decide how you are going to refer to these things. I like to think about x, y coordinates. So for me, x, okay, we're going to start with west and north as your upper left corners, and then east and south as our southeast corner. And again, you could just pass these in as a table, but just as a starting point, and then we'll see how we feel about it. Okay, so there we're going to have maze map coordinates dot west equals west, right? And we're just going to do this 4 times. So west, north, north, east, 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 south, 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 done, right? So what we can do with that is to mimic the current behavior. If we go into main, we can, right here, go ahead and call that with our current values. In fact, let's slide that out of the way here. Maybe make that a little bit bigger. We're running out of space. We're going to go ahead and call that with the values that we expect for Brie. So that's west, north, east, and south. Again, this is arbitrary. Just the important thing is you match one way and the other. Passing in a table with explicit northeast, south, and west values is a better choice because of this ambiguity. Looking at this, it's hard to know what is what, right? So that's our first thought right there, is maybe this isn't the right way to be passing in a function, just like I was saying before. It's a first step. But if we come in here and instead of this, we pass in fact, we'll just pass it in as another coordinate for right now, corner coords. We could even document it as a table. Are we doing documentation in here? Not yet, we're not. There we go. That's what we want. That syntax. Okay, so we're going to document this. Sets the corner coordinates used in calculating cursor, image position from /LOC text. Close enough. Writing text is hard. But we're going to go ahead and say this thing is a table. Table with west, north, east, and south entries. Okay, and what we can expect there is corner chords.west, corner chords.north, cornerchords.east, cornerchords.south. And what that means is instead of passing in 4 things, we're only going to pass in 1 thing. Now that does mean slightly more effort to set this up right now. Oh, cool. I'm seeing strings for Harvestmath in German in Discord. Thank you so much. Okay, so yeah, on the calling end, that means you can't just stick 4 things in here. You need a table or something that you're passing in instead. Now, that doesn't actually have to be much. We could define it as a local variable. We could probably define it in line. I don't know. Let's find out. East equals. Oh, actually, that's west. So west equals this. North equals that. East equals that, and south equals that. All right. Well, no complaints so far. So now what we need to do is actually use this to get our values later on. So instead of hard coding it, we can go ahead and say that dot west. And at this point, we're just essentially aliasing it. We could use these full values in this function. Seems like a pain, especially when you're referencing them multiple times. So we're going to go ahead and instead dot north, dot east, and that dot south. Now, not very pretty necessarily, but that is parameterized in a way that we could now swap this out. So we could see in here, and you know what, I am going to go ahead and pull that out for a moment, and local Breland maze corner coordinates equals that. Cool. Because we can go ahead and mess with them now. If we say bad corner coordinates, bad, then we can go ahead and start messing with them. So if we were to say our west and our east are closer than they actually are, so let's go ahead and say dot 3, and make that dot 99, and pass that in instead. We can demonstrate that this is sensitive. Oh, in fact, so sensitive it's not going to work. Okay. I was really hoping it would work just badly. Hang on. Okay, so if we make that minus 0.8, let's say, that 0.8 into a 0.7, what do we see then? Okay, that's not too different. I gotta just tell the code you're too sensitive. That works. Maybe the code is too sensitive. Okay, 0.2. What is going? Oh, I didn't actually start using it. That is not going to work, or it's not going to break. Well, that's fascinating. Okay, so 8.5. Maybe it's much more sensitive than I was thinking. Yeah, okay. So we can see here, it thinks I'm already in the wall over there when I'm clearly not. Okay, cool. So we can demonstrate messing with it does bad things. Well, does things that we don't want. Okay, we can see already. Oh, of course, by shifting it... Okay, my arrow was just so far outside the map it wasn't rendering at that point. Okay, cool. So we can see just now it thinks I'm all the way back where the wall is. So that's what's going on with that. Oh, Thyman asks, or Tyman I should say. Tyman asks, are you a dev? I am a developer of LOTRO plugins, but I do not work for Standing Stone Games. I'm a fan of Lord of the Rings Online. Oh, the cat left. I'm a fan of Lord of the Rings Online who happens to just really enjoy both developing plugins or struggling to develop plugins, as the case may be, and sharing that experience with other people. So if you have questions about Lord of the Rings Online, sometimes I or other people in the chat know the answer anyway. But if you have questions of very specific things that's going on under the covers of LOTRO, all I have are guesses, or not even that. Tijmen looks like a Dutch name. Not that I'm an expert, having only lived in the Netherlands for a few years now. But if it is, hello or hallo. Hoi hoi. Okay, so we have a way to... you say true. True that it looks like it? We have ways to parameterize our corner coordinates. Excellent. So now when we have corner coordinates for Wistmead, we'll be able to sub those in. So let's look at how we can do that, or how can we be storing this information. Where do we know to open this window, to make it visible? Visible. Maze map set visibility. How are we doing that? Okay, so in the main window, it's just generally hidden. And then sometimes it is called toggle visibility. Sure. Let's take a look at that. Okay. We will toggle the visibility when the map button is pressed. Cool. We have an update quest one. Okay, so Maze Map is always told when our quest updates. And so if that quest details has a map entry, then we will go ahead and make ourselves visible. And so the other parts of the plugin are not responsible for us being visible. All that matters is we are told, hey, here's a quest, and we say, oh, there's a map with that. Okay, well, that's really cool. What we want to do then is, in this map information, store these corner coordinates. So let's take a look at that map information. All right, so that is in quest strings. That's a good start. Let's come on over to quest strings. Quest strings and spring, and what we're really looking for is map. Okay, first trouble. I stored this as a key value where the value is just the image of the map, instead of what I should have done, which was a value which is a table that includes the map. Getting so excited I'm choking. So what it would have been, it would have caused fewer problems for me in the present if me in the past had remembered that whenever you have one of something, you're usually going to end up having more than one of something later on. And so I would have wanted that to look like this, where I could go ahead and say image, image equals, and then it's a map.image that we're looking for this. Okay, so what we want to do is find each of the instances of map here in quest strings, and there's not that many of them, apparently, and do the same transformation. So, all thing we can do is take advantage of something like Sublime Text to do that for. Tijmen asks, what language are you using? I've never heard of a Lua file. Well, fortunately, the answer to that is pretty straightforward. Lua is a scripting language that is used by many things, including games, to allow players to do plugins. So Factorio uses Lua, Lord of the Rings Online uses Lua. Last I heard, I think World of Warcraft uses Lua. And so it's a pretty common way for people to extend the functionality of a program like Lord of the Rings Online. So you can find out more information about Lua at that link, and that link is specifically to the 5.1 version of Lua, which is the version of Lua that is baked into Lord of the Rings Online. Whenever you're writing Lua plugins, or plugins in general, for something like a video game, do check to see what language or what version of that language they have kind of baked into their software, because changing that is not something that happens very often, and so 5.1 has been in there for a while. If we go to the current version, we can see we're on version 5.4.6. Updating the version of Lua, unless there's massive security implications, just isn't going to be a priority of a lot of people who are using Lua like this. So yeah, do check what language, because any language feature that was released after 5.1 just isn't an option. So if there's this really cool thing in Lua 5.4, well, that's too bad. However, bear in mind that when you have a game that uses Lua, they will have restricted Lua even further. So for instance, our plugins do not have the ability to access the network or access arbitrary files on your hard drive. They can only do a subset of the things that you can do in Lua 5.1. So you can read and write save files within specific locations, the plugin data directory within your Lord of the Rings Online data folder, but you can't read and write files outside of there. And there's just no network access whatsoever. Okay, great question, thank you. Okay, so we are looking for bracket, map, close bracket. We're just looking for this. Fantastic. And so what we want to do with each one of these is transform them in the exact same way. We want to go ahead and say image equals that and end. Now, swapping this back in is going to be non-trivial, but at least I have this already written up so that I can just copy paste it where I want it to go. The other half of this is going to be finding the places that use map, although we could just reload the plugin and see what crashes. As Dallin says, Lua and other scripting languages are also used to speed up development, since really only the core engine needs to be super fast, but a lot of game logic does not need to be. Excellent point. Lua doesn't have to be just for plugins. Although for a commercial game like Lord of the Rings Online, I could not tell you how the underlying information about quests and deeds and that sort of stuff is developed. I will say, my guess is, at the end of the day, it's not Lua, but you could certainly have an intermediary where you do things in a scripting language and then it gets compiled down into a release form. But that is a very vague guess. I have no strong information on that. So if anyone out there works in video game development and would like to chime in, please feel free. Okay, so we can come in here and we have map, images, maze map, perfect. We're going to go ahead and collapse these back down here for a minute so we can see both of these at the same time. Okay, I do want to add a semicolon after the end of each one of those. There we go. Oh, fantastic. Agartha says, in one of the Q&A sessions, I think Seb mentioned that some of the internal UI stuff is written in Lua. Neat. One of the fun and frustrating things about software development is that for any given problem, there's usually about an unlimited number of solutions. And so just because something can be done in one way, it doesn't stop you from doing it in 70 different ways. That's weird. That's a lot of extra spaces. Okay, so that gives us our nested structure that we should have had in the beginning. Oh, well, hey, someone has donated to the Extra Life team, Standing Stone Games. Starcock, or something like that. Stack. Yeah. Has donated stuff. Let's give a Hobbit flip, even though they may not be watching. Thank you for donating money to children's hospitals. Agatha says, and writing in Java even gives you more problems, according to the meme. Problem Factory. I have written Java-adjacent stuff a couple of times in my programming career, and it's never made me want to write more Java. I feel like part of the problem was I was introduced to Java pretty early in Java's development, like Java 1.3 or something. And at the time, some of the touted benefits of using Java were platform independence. You could write it once and it could run anywhere, and no pointers. And despite that, you could still generate a null pointer exception, and you could write code that wouldn't reliably work the same on multiple platforms. And at that point, I just said, I don't need that in my life. But I know some people use it and like it, and that's fine. I'm happy for them. Okay, so we have changed how map is defined here. Now we need to find those places that use it and make sure, make sure that they are using it correctly. So what we're looking for, nope. We're looking for a whole word. Fantastic. All right. Quest details equals that. If the map exists, we can see map.image. There we go. Timon asks, is Java really bad? I have never heard anything positive about it. I've never used it before. Java, I don't think Java is any worse or any better at accomplishing specific tasks than other modern brace-oriented programming languages. Where Java gets frustrating for me is probably mostly historical. I don't even know if these are real problems anymore. But in its attempt to be kind of platform agnostic, the default windowing UI, user interface, included its own look and feel. So you could be like, okay, you can look like the host thing, or you can look like the Java UI. And that didn't really feel like it was solving a problem for me. And I might even be misremembering this because this was 20 years ago. So my knowledge is horribly out of date. The problem is each time I've stepped back in and said, oh, is there something, I have a project that's using or touching Java. It hasn't stood out as this is solving things in such a unique and special way that I should switch to it from any of the other languages that also do the same things. It at a time when C++ was still the big language being used, and so was C, Java, I believe, was coming in with automatic memory management, which is neat, right? Like having to clean up your own memory allocations, kind of a pain. But the problem is, even other languages like C# that also do this, it's just one step closer because you still have to clean up all your other allocations that aren't memory. You have open file handles, you have memory streams, you have anything else. And in both Java and C# there are mechanisms to do this. You say using this stream, using this file handle, and then the language that knows that at the end of that block it needs to go and clean up these resources. But it's the same old problem of a human at the end of the day has to decide when they are done using the thing and release it back to the OS. And the OS can do that pretty reasonably for memory, but it can't tell when you're done with a file unless you tell it. Vio says, Hiya, I haven't played LOTRO in a few years. What would you recommend for a returning player who last played around the Iron Hills to do? Well, first of all, a few servers have, depending on when you stepped away, some servers were consolidated down and players at the time who were active got a chance to move their characters off of those servers. So if you have characters that are either on a still existing server or if they made the transfer at the time, so you have characters sitting around, then you go ahead and log in with those characters. You may still have active quests in your quest log that give you a sense of where you can do. Before Mordor, there is an epic, volumes 1, 2, 3, and 4, I think. Once you hit Mordor, there's the Black Book of Mordor, and then there's more epic-like narratives that guide you along. So worst case scenario, figure out where you are in the epic or epic equivalent and keep on going in the story. But chances are you might want to revisit some of the story of lower levels. And so you kind of need to have that decision of do you want to continue a character but you don't remember what's going on? Do you want to maybe start a second character? Dio says, I'm mostly sure I've done the first 4 epics. That character might have gotten deleted though. Oh, awesome. Agarthus' World Consolidation was 2015. Iron Hills was 2018. So, do check. If you remember what server you were playing on, log in, see what you've got. If nothing else, you might have some starting gold that will make your life a little bit easier for a newer character. That being said, of the games that I have played that have an experience system, I find Lord of the Rings Online to be pretty generous with its experience, especially in the first 50 levels or so. There is far more content in the game available to do than there is space in your experience bar to do it. And so if you're the kind of player like me who prefers taking these tasks on level, you might actually find yourself investing in a tortoise stone. Nope, where's my Stone of the Tortoise? In my inventory? Yeah, there it is. Because I've been using it. You might actually find yourself or other players investing in a Stone of the Tortoise, which just says, stop giving me experience, please. Because otherwise, you'll be in a level 45 area, and by the time you've done every quest and deed available in that, you're level 50. And so that it changes the play experience. So if you do decide to start a new character, you may find that you are able to level up quickly as you want to, or maybe even faster. And so it doesn't hurt that much to start over. Where it hurts is if you're a completionist. If you like doing every quest and every deed and all of the things, and you had a character that you were partway down that progression, I wouldn't give that up. Not necessarily. Arthur contributes, thank you so much. Oh, Vio says, I think it was Crick Hollow, will check, thank you. Agartha says, one of the big changes since that time will be changes to legendary items, virtues, and class trait points. Good point. Let's go over them very quickly. Virtues, class traits. Class traits will generally be in the current configuration of 2 to 3 things that you can specialize in. And for some classes, instead of a third one, they'll have a sort of a utility section where you can pick and choose stuff out of there without suffering like a cross-trait penalty. Normally, if you are traded in blue, your stuff in red will cost you double points. Or if you're traded in red, your blues will cost double points. In those classes with the utilities will cost some amount, 1, 2, or 3, depending on how good it is, but it isn't changed by what your specialization is. Other good point, yes, Agartha points out, once upon a time you got your class traits by doing specific actions in game deeds and quests, and now you get them purely by what level you are. So if you are level 85, you're going to have a specific number of points, and I guess it's 59. Cool. Virtues. Virtues may also have changed. You no longer have to complete specific deeds to advance specific virtues, like +1 on compassion. Instead, completing deeds will give you virtue experience, and you can decide which of your virtues is earning. Neat. So, for instance, when I completed Explorer of Breland, I got 2,000 virtue experience, which went towards whichever virtue I was trying to get better at the time. Loyalty is a great virtue. It gives a lot of vitality, so I might have said, oh yes, I want to put all my virtue points into this before anything else, but then maybe I would have gone towards Wit and Wisdom for more tactical damage. You know, you can customize your build out a lot more easily that way instead of having to hunt down specific deeds. Oh, I gotta do this one because it's loyalty +1. What else did Agartha say? Oh, legendary items. Legendary items, they have advanced away from what you might be familiar with. The version 1 of Legendary Items was brought out with Mines of Moria, and that was what I like to affectionately kind of call the wood chipper model, which is you get a legendary item, this fantastic ancient weapon handed down from long ago. It's amazing. You equip it, you use it for a couple of levels, you find something incrementally better, and you send that other one to the wood chipper and start the cycle over again. And it is different now, so that is much better. It is less of a scavenger hunt to find specific things that you need for it. And there's a reasonably good tutorial, I think, in the game as you get your legendary item. If you have characters that had legendary items in 2018, then you may have missed the chance to get them converted over to the new system. And that's okay. You can still get by. But anyone who was transitioning from the old system to the new system, hey, Corey has donated $20 to the Extra Life campaign for the General Standing Stone Games team. That's awesome, Corey. You're probably not watching, but if you are, I will do a Hobbit flip for you. Oh, I got this as a praise still works. Great. So, Vio, in your old legendary item UI, you're going to see a button somewhere that says like appraise, and that's a way to convert from the old system to the new system. Thanks, Agartha. Fingers crossed you see that. In which case, you will get lots of things that go in your inventory and something called Ancient Script. Ancient Script normally has a hard cap of 10,000 Ancient Script. And if you would get anything more than that, it is lost, except during the appraisal process. So appraise everything. If you're up in level 110s or something, you are going to have way more, probably, than 10,000 Ancient Script. You'll just want to remember to spend it before you start earning more Ancient Script. There is a section in the Elrond's last homely house in Rivendell, the Word Hoard. You'll be able to spend it there. There are guides online that you can follow, but if you have any questions, come back to one of the streamers and say, hey, I would like more information about this. Heck, if you get online today, I'm happy to be diverted a little bit. You think your main was 130. We've been at, I guess the cap's 140 now on non-legendary servers. On legendary servers, it's of course variable. So right now on Treebeard, we have a cap of level 85. Which means I am at level cap and only level 85. You're currently downloading again. Awesome. There's around 30 gigs or so of stuff to download and maybe a few patches. So, yeah, good luck with your patience. Last time I had to install an update, I was like, I would like it now, please. Okay. So we have possibly made the changes we need to make in order to make this work the same way, but be a little bit more customizable. Oh, while we're doing that customizability, we can see that it is in fact working. Awesome. While we're doing this customizability, we have quest strings here. We're going to go ahead and make that wider again. And these places with map, I don't really think it makes sense to encode the corner coordinates every time, but that would allow you to have, that's a lot of flexibility. If different maps could be at different resolutions, that seems like a crazy idea, right? Vio says, you're aware of the delay. Okay. In any case, you see the topic of this stream is plugins. What kind of plugins are you coding? Yeah, well, these are, of course, Lord of the Rings Online plugins. The one I'm currently working on, because we're in the middle of Harvestmath, the Harvest Festival-themed festival here this time of the year. And so Festival Buddy is a plugin that is designed to assist doing festivals. So, for instance, with the Hedge Maze map of the Spring Festival, which has definitely existed for a while, so you may have done this, you can use the /LOC command to get a sense of where you are in the map for a little bit easier navigation. And of course, if you are doing a specific quest that has objectives like finding the elves, we can also raise custom maps in order to help you find those locations. Like, oh, I'm trying to find the, let's call it green elf, then it's over here. Okay, the elf is going to be somewhere around here. Of course, it's not actually here because it's not the spring festival. But fortunately, they do let you wander in here. That way you can practice your hedge maze running all year round. You say that's really nice. I'm very pleased that this is working. One of the things I do a lot of when I'm doing a plugin like this is borrow liberally from other plugins that are doing the thing that I want to do, but different. And so there's lots of plugins out there. The Waypoint plugin, the Roving Threat plugins that will translate the /LOC command and put you on the map somehow. And so one of the things I did was to borrow just enough pieces of that to make this work. Because it says, I never really used plugins. I was too young to understand how to use them back when I played. No worries. It took me a while to get comfortable adding them in and using them. And I use a fair number of them now, just when they relieve a pressure point of the game. For instance, festivals. I enjoy doing the festivals, but I don't necessarily want to have to memorize everything about this maze. Cool. I'm going to offload that effort to a plugin. You know, minstrel buff. I enjoy playing minstrels, but I don't want to have to figure out which one of my ballads and anthems are active and for how long and when do I need to refresh that. I will just offload that effort to the plugin. That kind of thing. So I'm very happy that other people are out there like me who will make these plugins because I can't make them fast enough. You do Minecraft mods. Awesome. Okay, upside downside. Okay, what one could do is have a festival level set of coordinates and then embed more coordinates in the map section if we want to override with them. Let's do that. Okay, so if that's the case, then we want to come up to spring. Are we going to break something by adding something that's not a quest name? I think the answer is no. I don't think that anything iterates through here. But you know what? We're going to find that out real fast. Okay, so we're going to come in here, and the first thing we're going to do is do map. And we're going to go ahead and comment this and say this is the festival map, maze map coordinates. Add an entry to the quest level map to override. Now hopefully we'll actually add the code that does that, but for now this is fine. So map, we want chords equals where'd I put it? I put it here. Neat. Okay, so just for readability, let's go ahead and space it out like this. All right, that means we can go ahead and do quest strings dot spring dot map dot, hang on a sec, what is spring? Ooh. Dot map dot chords. Corner coordinates. Stop trying to be efficient on typing. Typing is the fast part. Thinking is the slow part. Okay, so now we can go ahead and instead of having them hard-coded here, they're hoisted there. And what we can do is come on into Harvestmath and do the same thing, where we have an entry here called map. But we're going to need updated versions of those. And the final thing that we need is name equals. And this is where we can go ahead and do language-specific versions of the title. So, hedge maze map. Let's go ahead and find that. It really was just hard-coded. Awesome. My apologies to anyone who doesn't want to see that in English. Okay. We're going to go ahead and substitute that in for each one of these strings. And then those could get localized into something else. So what we want to do is to say use that instead. And so again, we have a function called set corner coordinates. We're also going to have a function called function map maze map set title set window title. And for this, just document a little bit. Param title string. Can I do string? Let's find out. So this is going to be sets the title of the maze map window. Title is already localized text to use as title. Okay. And then we can just go ahead and replicate that. Now in this case, we're going to set title not to something constant, but what's passed in. We're also going to call this in main as well. So to do replace in quest loading code and to do, but while we're here, we're going to go ahead and maze map set title with that, because what we want to do, first of all, comment that out, and we're going to go ahead and set this just to generic maze map window. So when we first load this, clicked on the wrong thing there, we can see generic maze map window, cool, and then we're going to go ahead and load that into hedge maze map. Awesome. But again, we don't really want that. We want the title. Dot title. Dot name, apparently. Oh, but we can see that's a table. We need to call whatever it is we call to get the version of that. Cool. Okay. Just have to remember how to do that. Get string. Fantastic. Looks like get string delves into it based off of the client language. Fantastic. Get string. Every plugin gets to do its localization differently. Awesome. Tillerian says the German version of the maze is Tanglecorn. I like it. Yeah, fortunately, I'm hoping to find some localizations for the Tanglewood stuff as well. But I've gone ahead and copied that. We'll have that as well. German version of Tanglecorn is Tanglecorn. Thanks, Tillerian. Okay, so we've gone ahead and said get string on that. So what we want to see is hedge maze map. Awesome. And we can verify that that's working by coming on in and saying hedge maze map exclamation point. And it did not work. Fantastic. Testing. Okay. It is not working. What did we mess up? Oh, we're in the Harvestmath version. Well, that's embarrassing. Let's come on back to Spring and put the name there. Harvestmath map, and then we can come on back in. And that will be Tanglecorn map. All right. What is it in German? Kart? K-A-A-R-T? Or am I thinking Dutch? Let's see. Map. Karta. Okay. Or would that become a single word? Which looks better? Tanglecorn Karta with no space or with space? I don't know. Okay. We're going to go ahead and double check that that worked. Okay, so we have hedge maze map. Awesome. And up here, we need to go ahead and exclamation point. Do exclamation points work in the title bar? Okay. I forgot to actually use title. My goodness, this is why we test things. Hey, hedge maze map test. Fantastic. And yes, you can use an exclamation point in the title of a window. Awesome. Okay, so we have the need to update these coordinates. Let's go ahead and do that next. Once we have coordinates, we can start putting ourselves on the map. So we want to go ahead and actually, do we care about that? Or do we want to get ourselves on the map first? Let's get ourselves on the map first. Okay, so misplaced companions. We can see map looks like this. And so we need to ask ourselves, do we have Harvestmath? We have Riddle, we have Troves, and Trickery. Cute. Okay. We're going to need to add some new quests. Let's do it. And by do it, I mean travel to personal house. Video says, download is done. Time to check whether my characters still exist. Excellent. If you're still on the same computer as before, you might find that in your documents there is a Lord of the Rings Online folder. And if that's still there, it might even have the last server that you logged in on. Only 613 Fall Festival tokens. What? Okay. We want to go to the Shire. You say download's done, but you didn't say patching is done. Suspicious. Nice. You remember the server. It's Kirkhollow. You just checked. Your level 120 burglar still lives. Fantastic. Neat. Yeah, now you just have the choice of, do you kind of pick up where you left off? Do you have a new character? You can always just read through the epic storyline on the wiki. It's not quite the same as playing it in the game, but it could kind of refresh your memory of, what am I doing here? Cat says, congratulations, VO. Yeah, that's really awesome. There's definitely been some people who ducked out of the game for, 10 years, and then they're back and it's like, hey, I want my character, and it's like, that server doesn't exist anymore, and you kind of missed your multiple month or year window to get them off. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look. We want challenging wheat, we want cheat of the wheat. We should probably check the wiki to see if there's prerequisites, because it's been too long. LOTRO wiki. Wow. Alright, so challenge of the wheat. Challenging wheat, that's what it is. And cheat of the week. Let's go check out that quest chain. Alright, Windy Walk Through Westmead is it, and cheat of the wheat requires challenging wheat. Okay. That works. So we're going to need to start new quest entries for these. Now, it's a bit of an involved thing, but it's good to know how to do that. First thing we want to do is come on into we have strings and we have quest strings. And somewhat, perhaps unintuitively, I believe we're going to start in strings. Okay. So, the quests... Yeah, so in strings, we're given the quests that we're going to be showing, and we're using these keys as indexes into the quest strings structures. So we're going to come into Harvestmath, and we're going to have challenging wheat equals, but we're going to abbreviate that a little bit. So we're going to start with English equals challenging wheat, and then we're going to have a to-do, add other languages. Now, fortunately, I can pull those out for each of the other languages, so that's not going to be a problem. We're also going to go ahead and challenging wheat. Hello, little one. What you doing? Yeah, where is she? Yeah. You want to come up here? I know, it seems like a trap, doesn't it? There we go. Well, you can see her tail anyway. Yep, you gotta go get that thing. It might escape you. Alright. I know you hate being picked up. This is Kato. She does not like being picked up at all. Thank you. I know. That's why you knew the treats were a trick. Well, it's that time of year. Mom Cat says hello. Yes. And she's gone. All the treats were consumed. Okay, so we have challenging wheat. And we have whatever else it was. Cheat of the wheat. Random Dale fan says, hello, kitty. She's already outside. Well, outside. We have an enclosed space for them that connects the house to an enclosed overkapping in Dutch. Outbuilding that is enclosed, but they can connect to it. So they're outside and inside all at the same time. Okay, so yes, this is cheat of the week. So she did not stick around after I had the audacity to pick her up. Okay, so we can go ahead and reload the plugin, and we should be able to see some error messages because we didn't provide the other parts of the data. So challenging wheat, click. Cheat of the wheat. Okay, it looks like it just swallows that, and that's fine. So now that we have these keys to these two quests, now that we have these, we can come into the quest strings and start adding information there. Okay, in Harvestmath, We have Troves Dooland, Troves Thorn, Troves Shire, Troves Bree, and Riddle Bottle. Great. Now we need Challenging Wheat equals, and in here we need a string equals, and this is whatever is going to show up in the dialogue. So test text, and we're going to add a to-do localize these. Two requests. But we also want to add the map. And for that, we can see it's its own thing. Map and then image is going to equal something. Now we can see right away our images probably would have been better to nest these a little bit. And so we're going to take a look at that. Sweet. Delirian has said the cheat and the not cheat. Let's go take those. All right, challenge cheat of the week. German. And thanks, Delirian. Okay, so yeah, a thing I'm seeing is that maze map and all of these are just kind of polluting the image namespace. Not a fan. And we do have, holy moly, we have the opportunity for improvement. So, are images included after strings? That's a good question. Let's come on and take a look. Images and then strings. Ah. Well, I can see why we didn't take advantage of this yet. So, the problem is, in images, I want to take advantage of the fact that spring has been defined to be 1. So if I do this, we're probably going to have a problem because that doesn't exist yet. But what if it did? What if it did? Who knows? Yeah, it works just fine. Okay, so what we want to do is take these defines, and instead of having 1 equals, we have a spring equals. Summer is 2, Harvestmath is 3. And you can see how meaningless these comments to the right get, that we're just trying to explain what the heck does 6 mean. You know, they're not enforced by anything, so they could be wrong. But now we don't need to know what midsummer equals. It just is the same thing. So we're just going to go through and clean up these not needed comments. And the real question is, if we have festival-specific things like these maze maps, then maybe they should be in the festival. Aw. Well, Kick in chat says, I'm a recently retired tech exec, managed hundreds of developers. Never have I seen anyone be this efficient and explain things so well. So hopefully you're high up in whatever place. Well, it's very kind of you to say. I can only hope that I continue to live up to that. I couldn't tell you if I'm high up in my place. I'm not allowed. No. But wherever I am, it affords me the opportunity to do this once a week in the evenings, and that's pretty cool. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to actually take these references here and move them on into Spring, because that seems like a better place for it. Because those are Spring-specific maps. And what we want to do is try to figure out what we just broke by doing it. So if we're in here and we do a case-sensitive search, we can probably, and we say that's the entire word, we can probably narrow down what's going on. And so this is the actual definition that we just moved. This is where we set the background. And we can see, okay, any of these other places in quest strings that we've been updating all along here. Gotta give it a second to actually expand. Okay, each of these is what's going to be affected there. And so what we want to do is go ahead and add in a spring reference. Now, a downside to what we just did, which was using those numerical indexes is it's very tempting to do something like images.spring, but we can't do it because the actual thing is 1. So we can still index it with the brackets, but we can't do dot notation, which makes me a little sad. And it's one reason why you might use the actual string, capital string, instead of numbers in your lookup. But it's a trade-off. All right. We're going to go ahead and update each one of these references. Images.mazemap. What do you mean, no references? Because I'm in the wrong place. Cool. Okay, so we're going to come over here to each one of these. Images dot, and instead that's going to be spring. And we're just going to go ahead and copy that so we can make use of it. Mazemap, mazemap, mazemap. And for completion, we could go through and test this by selecting each of the quests, and it would try to load. We may end up doing that. Okay, so that gives us a little bit better encapsulation of these maze map images and gives us a better sense of how we want to store them for Harvestmath. So what we're going to do, and we get to customize this because this is just used in that quest string reference. So we don't have to call this one maze map if we don't want to. Instead, just for variation, we're going to start with Tanglecorn. Tanglecorn 1. And what are these two things? They are challenging wheat and cheat. Challenge equals, and here's where we can go ahead and remember where we put these things. So we're in our resource dir, yes, and we're going to come on into okay, so we can use / as a directory separator. Awesome. So that's going to be quest maps, Harvestmath. Remember that backslashes are going to get you into trouble because they're an escape character, and we can just see that in the syntax highlighting here. \H doesn't actually mean anything. Quest maps, Harvestmath, and then this is going to be changed later, but right now it is Tanglecorn 1. In fact, if we wanted to, we could go ahead and duplicate the file names right now. Challenge and cheat. So, challenge and cheat. So, take them all, copy them all, and then just do that same thing. Challenge, cheat. Challenge, cheat. Now this is a cheat because these are the same maps. But the reason it's helpful is it allows us to go ahead and reference the file names that we will be using. Like if we go ahead and compare these, obviously they're the same thing. We just copy pasted them. There's no difference. I got there. Gives whole new meaning to the cheat code. Absolutely. But now we can reference these things by the names we know we're going to use after we've split them out. So that'll be just fine. So we're going to go ahead in here, and that will be challenge. And then just for fast, we're going to go ahead and come on in here and do the challenges by themselves and the cheats by themselves. Okay. So that is cheat, Tanglecorn 1, cheat. Great. And 2, 3, 4, 5. Fantastic. So, first thing we can do is figure out what else did we break that we forgot about. So we're going to come on into spring. Fistful of flowers. Nope. Fool's errand. Okay, we can see we're getting error. No, we're not getting error messages, but we're not getting our window. So something obviously has gone wrong, and that's okay. First of all, probably that image reference. Okay, so images. Let's go take a look and see what else is referencing. All right. Right now it's just those three. That's cool. Oh, we have corner coordinates. We have set window title. Awesome. In fact, we don't even need that variable anymore. We're going to go ahead and get rid of it. Okay. Oh, well, we're not done with quest strings yet. We're still working on one. That's anniversary. So many. Okay. Here is where we want to go ahead and say images, and that is Harvestmath dot maze, nope, Tanglecorn 1 challenge. There we go. And let's see, do we get that? We do. Okay. All right, this is Harvestmath. And we have challenging wheat. Now, one of the problems is we do kind of assume that for a single named quest, there is but one map. So, like I mentioned at the beginning of the stream, we're going to have to add in a feature that determines what is today's map. So that's going to be another layer onto all of this mapping stuff. But the first thing is to get a single map up. In fact, we wanted 3 because today is map number 3 on this server. Okay, so what are we missing? Right now, we are missing the cheat of the wheat. Fantastic. And just to provide some difference here, and cheat. Okay. And just so these look different, I'm going to go ahead and load a different numbers map. So we have our quest strings entries. We have our images entries. Moving things in here is probably what caused us to stop working. So I'm going to do another search for maze map elves, for instance, and make sure it looks like, yeah, that all looks good. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and close that down. We've got our strings down. We're going to close that just to kind of make things a little bit easier to look at here. Okay, so what we want to do is figure out why we are not seeing our map window. And the answer might be because we switched to a festival that doesn't have the map window. So we need to figure out how we made that a thing. So we want to go into our main window and search for map. It's the map. It's the map. And we really want a button. Button map. I don't know. Find me map button. Button maze map. Perfect. So what I did there was just activate the regular expression feature. So if you're familiar with regular expressions, you can use them to find what you're looking for. Okay, so we have a button maze map. How is this thing set to be visible? Selected festival equals spring. Tell you what, that's not right. So what we really want to do is to say, hey, selected festival is being set to something that is a number, and we're comparing it to these numbers. But we don't really want to do that. We want to use these entries, these map entries, in a festival. Hey, does Questring's spring map exist? Awesome. So what we want to do is look. Just to get ourselves a sense of the syntax, local is button visible equals quest strings, and that's selected festival dot map. And you could even say is not equal to nil if you want to coerce that into something true or false. We have the map here. Is it not equal to nil? Okay, great. So that's the thing we want to use here in place of this selected festival equals spring. But if that's the case, what are the chances we did that in more than one place? Very good. Okay. Did I put that somewhere reasonable? Where was it? Okay. Nope, I pressed the wrong button there. What on earth? Did I accidentally close it? That would be funny. Okay. Unfortunately, my Control W and Control V keys are right next to each other because I'm using a Dvorak keyboard layout, which is mildly inconvenient when you go to paste something and you close the window. Dvorak! Why did you not know better? Okay, so we are probably discovering that the map was automatically being hidden and not being shown because we had hard-coded in that spring is the only festival that uses the map. It was a reasonable assumption at the time. It's no longer true. So what we should be able to see is that now the map button is visible, but we are seeing that we're still seeing hedge maze map. And that's because we're not loading quest-specific stuff when we change quests. And we know that Maze Map Win has a mechanism to do that with update quest. So we get the quest details, and we want to do what we're doing here in Maze Map right here. These things need to go over here. So we need to go ahead and set the corner coordinates, and we need to set the map window, and we can be done in main. Neat. Okay, but we need selected festival, not spring. However, we should make sure that map actually exists. That's what we have this check here for. So we're going to go ahead and update like this. Oh, we even have an alias for this. Excellent. Okay, so what we want to do is, remember we said we were going to allow for overriding of corner coordinates. So if quest details dot, and we want to go ahead and offer corner coordinates, and we can say not equal to nil if we want to emphasize, then end. But we don't have to. That's an optional bit there. Then we're going to set the corner coordinates from there. Otherwise, we want to go ahead and use the festival-wide corner coordinates. And that's what we already had. That's quest strings, selected festival, map.corner coordinates. We also want to go ahead and do the window title. Currently, we're not suggesting that we'll have custom titles for available for different quests. It's always a possibility in the future. We've just seen how we would implement that. So we're going to leave it for now. So we're setting corner coordinates and the window title. Now, the map image should be fine as well. So if we go ahead and load this and come to Harvestmath, go to Challenging Wheat, we can see that didn't work. Cheat of the wheat. Okay, why didn't it work? Let's take a look. First of all, let me just make sure we're in this function before we go any further. So we're going to go to turbine.shell.writeLine, and we're just going to write something out that says we are here. And you know what? I want to see that quest key as well. So quest key. Okay. So did we even get there? Maze map update quest cheat of the week. Great. Oh no! Vio says sadly my game seems to really like crashing. So one thing that comes to mind is when LOTRO is in full screen mode. Let's come take a look at that. So in graphics, if you are in full screen mode, on some systems, and mine was like this as well, if you Alt-Tab out of the game does not like it. Does not like it at all. But the combination of a couple things really helped me. First of all, the full screen windowed mode in the game, but then there's also, I believe, a setting in the config file. Let's pull that up here. And so this is just the user preferences.ini. And the allow fake full screen, I make sure to set that to true. And apparently there's also a force fake full screen equals true. That's cool. And screen mode, that was the full screen windowed. And that combination really helped smooth it out because I play on a multi-monitor setup here. Agartha also says, check your DirectX version. I could never get 64-bit to work with DirectX 9. I have a multi-monitor setup here, so it drives me crazy if the game's up here and I cannot interact with Windows over here. And so I would do that. I would do something in the game and I would tab out to the desktop and the game would crash or not like it in other ways. And this was years ago, so I don't remember the specifics. But allow fake full screen equals true and using full screen windowed resolved the issue. Okay, well, give that a try. Let me know how it works. Let me know if you need to see those up on the screen in more detail. Okay, so why is Cheat of the Wheat not showing up? In fact, it's explicitly closing the map and not loading things. Well, we're probably failing our check here. So let's come dig into the check a little bit more and see what we might be missing. Okay, so we are saying if the quest details under the selected festival. So let's take a look at that. All right. Turbine.shell.writeLine. Did we get something? Quest details. Whoops. And we're going to call the dump function to transform that into something human readable, though it's probably just a table reference if all goes well. Nope, it's nil. Fantastic. We did something wrong. So let's get selected festival in here. Selected festival. Bam. Okay. What's going on? Selected festival is 3. All right. What should it be? Okay, so we're going to collapse down spring and summer. Harvestmath is 3. Great. Quest key is challenging wheat. Awesome. So what's up with quest details? Quest strings, selected festival is 3. Quest key should be cheat of the wheat. And quest details should therefore be valid. Oh, Eldoleth says 64-bit client still needs the DirectX 9 legacy. Legacy mine? I'm not sure what mine said. When I did new download of the game, a new hard drive still needed it. This worked for me. You still need 9, even if you have 11, unfortunately. Oh, right. There is something about how the developers want to break the dependency on that completely, but they're not there yet. I remember them saying that. Cool. Thank you so much, Edeleth, for sticking that into chat. Vio, give that a try and see if that helps. Okay, well, since we are getting a null quest details, that certainly explains why we are having problems. So, find shell.writeLine. Oh. Ella says, by the way, before ask LRH to check Slack messages, please. I can do that. She's upstairs emptying some wardrobes before we move them last I checked. But I'll let her know. Thanks. Telerian, if I recall, DX install file is in the troubleshooting folder of the LOTRO client install. Nice. Thanks, Telerian. Elveth says there is, but it still tells you on that DX install that you have the newest version, blah blah kind of thing. So I send people straight to 9. Okay, nice. Why am I not seeing what I would like to see? We're in quest strings. That's fine. Selected festival is 3, which is Harvestmath. The quest key is Cheat of the Wheat. But that works. Huh. I just heard the sound of someone donating to Extra Life, which is awesome, but I don't actually see anyone donating to Extra Life. Well, thank you, whoever did that. Hey! Pat Provent has donated $30 in Little Redhead's name. That's fantastic. Thank you so much. Well, as is Little Redhead's tradition, I'm going to go ahead and give you a Hobbit flip here. Thank you so much for donating money for children's hospitals. Although it says working on the marathon schedule behind the scenes, coordinating is always fun. Yeah, I appreciate that. Okay, what is going on here? We are able to delve in to Trowsbury. Okay. Is it because of the underscores? Is that it? That would make me confused, but that would be a nice resolution. Oh, well, phew, it's not because of the underscores. Okay, these things are working. Quest strings 3, riddle bottle. Here, let me widen this up here. Okay, so this is just string English. Cool. Is it bugging out because I don't have the other strings? Surely not. But you know, why not? That is so weird. There's an extra. There's an extra semicolon. Hey, I want you to check Slack. Okay, so there's an unusual brace style present in this file. And I've been meaning to do something about that for a long time. And it's using an indent on the first and last brace of these tables, which is just not what is like a Lewis standard, but it is normal in some other brace conventions. Or if it's normal for Lua, I don't know. I'm more used to the initial brace on the line of the initialization, and then a brace that's tabbed the same way on the last line. And I'm so used to looking at that I did not see that we were outside of the scope. Such a stupid problem. Okay. Well, good news. I was driving myself crazy because of a typo. I'm getting rid of all of that. Okay. Challenging wheat. Challenging wheat. Test text. Okay, great. Map. Oh my goodness, it's delightful. Okay, so, and we can see cheat of the wheat. Bam. Ah. Yeah, that was like a half-hour bug right there. Gone too fast, I guess. Okay, so when we correctly put our end braces, then we get our stuff. It's so easy. Okay, so just for making this work, we're going to need to fill in locations for the corners. And for that, we need the westernmost extent, south, north, and east. Momcat says, Hobbit flips are the best. I really enjoy the emotes that are given to Hobbits. Okay, now, our problem is I don't actually know if the outside or the inside is a better place for these. But that's okay. We're going to come on in to our quest strings here. And we're going to start with the outer ones and see what's up. Now, by default, you only get 1 decimal digit of precision. I'm not a fan of that, so we're going to come into, well, we're going to go ahead and open up the LOTRO plugin compendium and add the precise coords by Thurlore, precise coordinates. We're going to go ahead and add that in. Now, if you don't know it, the LOTRO plugin compendium is a fantastic way to install a set of well-known and well-behaved plugins. And as you saw, it was super fast and super easy to both find it and install it. Highly recommended. It is a third-party program that you download, written by community member Lunar Water. Super nice. We're going to go ahead and remember that we've changed plugins while LOTRO is running, so we need to hit this green arrow in the plugin manager, and then come on down to precise coords. Except precise coords is still only 2 decimal digits of precision, and I do really like bumping it up by a little bit. So we're going to come on in to Documents, Lord of the Rings Online, Plugins, go into Thurlore, and in the precise coords.lua, we're going to go ahead and make a quick little change. So in this place where we format to %.2, we're going to do %.4 instead. 4 decimal digits of precision should be enough for anyone. Anytime you do /lsc, when precise coords is loaded, it'll go ahead and translate that out and spit out your 4 decimal digits of precision. And that's important because at the scale we're talking about, moving around in a maze, if I take a step to the left, we're going to see that show up in the precise coordinates. We changed from 113.8772 to 113.8784. So it was noticeable in the thousandths of decimal places, but not in the tenths or the hundredths. And so you have to step noticeably. And on a map this zoomed in, it gets very kind of almost jerky unless you get well, it would get that jerky if you were only resolving to that level. Fortunately, the logic itself doesn't truncate at all. But when we're storing these upper left and lower right coordinates, it's nice to get it as precise as reasonable. And so a few steps one way or the other probably won't change the end result that much. But I still like to get it as precise as possible. Now, we are 70 north, 113 west. That seems very far north. Let's see. 70 north, well, Forchel is like 22 north. Where on earth are we? Okay, so we're just off the map. Fantastic. And 113 west. Okay. So that's west of Eredluin. So we are approximately here, but on the other side of the world. Fantastic. Fortunately, coordinates don't actually have to mean anything. They just have to be locally useful. Locally correct. Okay, so we have south, and this is actually positive. And we're going to go ahead and just preemptively delete those other coordinates until we've found them for real. Okay, going to mount up to make this a little bit faster. Okay, we can see here the west coordinate. Remember that west is negative. So we're going to pick up minus 113.9956. There should be a spooky path like this all around the maze, so we should be able to get access to the entire maze this way. Okay, we're here on the north side. That's going to be a positive 71. And around onto the east. If we've done our work correctly, that should be all that's necessary to link up our /LOC arrow onto this map. Let's take a look. All right, so this is east. It's still negative though, because overall we are still west. Okay. Well, I just unloaded everything and loaded precise coords, not what I meant to do. Okay, we're seeing an error right there. Attempt to perform arithmetic on local west a nil value. Fair enough. Did I save? Uncertain. Okay, certainly did not do it correctly. Let's come on in and see. We are in Harvestmath. Awesome. So let's dig on in. 263. We're going to bring this over here. 263. Minus west, that should be corner coordinates. Okay. Corner coordinates should be set to something. You know, I never actually did update this to just be equal to whatever was being passed in, which is another simplifying thing that we get. Setting corner coordinates. Let's go ahead and dump these out while we're at it. Okay, and we're going to go on into spring so we can see what that looks like. Misplaced companions, unload, reload. First of all, we can see we did not get that when we loaded. So that's a problem. We need, when the window is being instantiated, we do need to get that first information in case it is the correct information. If we come into Harvestmath challenging, we can see it is fine. Fantastic. We're not on the map yet. There we go. There is code in there that says if you're not, if the arrow would be off the map, then we just don't draw it. Because it's no way to tell the difference. Okay, we can see our coordinates are not quite where we want them to be. But before we handle that, we do want to come back in and fix that problem. So, this map update quest, we need to get that called more than it is. Okay, what's going on? When are you being called? Maze Map Update Quest Challenging Wheat was called. Challenging Wheat with Festival was called. Okay. Then why does it not seem like that was what happened? Okay, that's good. Do we not have the W Maze Map parent yet? That would be embarrassing. It's nil. Well, that's a problem, because we need it to not be nil. So the real question is, why is it nil? And okay, so we're doing load quest here in main win. Is it because we need... Okay, well, I'm curious. What happens if we just draw the maze map first? Hey, it just works. Sometimes there's assumptions made where you can't just do that. I'd like to think I avoided those. Let's get rid of some of these debug statements and see... Setting corner coordinates is happening up down here. Good. Okay. So sometimes you have a lot of interconnectedness in the code where this file over here wants to talk about this one, and this file over here wants to talk about this one, and that's not a great way to write things, but sometimes it's just how things are written. So if this map needed to interact with the main window, you would need it to know about the main window. And if the main window needs to activate this, you would need to know about this. And Ugh. But right now, it seems to be that we do not have that problem. So if I come over to Misplaced Companions, the map, Heterogeneous Map, the map changes. Awesome. Our arrow doesn't do anything. If we come on back to Harvestmath and come over to Cheat of the Wheat, we get the cheat map, and there we go. So what we want to do is get a better sense of the bounds of this map, because this would seem to be the actual south. That was a mistake on my part. I wasn't sure whether the inner or outer would be what we needed. So we have precise coords loaded, and now we have this as our south. So let's come on in to Harvestmath South. How much? Oof. 8/100ths. Okay. Now, navigating around here, there is that. Fantastic. This is still somewhat useful. It's just not all the way. Okay. We're at the westernmost point. We're going to go ahead and take that and use that for west. Again, it's a negative number. And I'm actually going to reload at this point just so it's a little bit more precise. Oh, it's not going to be precise, is it? Because well, I see what the problem is. The code assumes these coordinates are on the very bounds of the map. And that's not the case here. But what would happen if we split the middle? And for the west, what happens if we split this? So we're going to go ahead and average these as well. Would that be a reasonable approximation? Survey says maybe. Okay, so what have we done so far? South and west, so we need north and east. Well, we have a path to get through here. Fantastic. Now, the more north and the more east we get, the more I would expect the incorrect coordinates that we're currently using to interfere. The more I would expect that to stretch and skew what's going on. And so I think I am seeing that. So it's not unexpected. It is unwelcome. This feels vaguely familiar. I feel like I've done this before. Okay. There we go. Okay, so we can see we need to reload precise coords, and then we're at the easternmost section, which again is a negative number. So for east, we're going to go ahead and do that plus that divided by 2. And then for the northernmost, and we can see we're pretty far off there, so we'll see if this is going to work. We're going to go ahead and do this plus that divided by 2. And then we can tweak it from there. Okay. Well, something's gone wrong. One, 3, 3, 3, 6, 0. I didn't do the minus, of course. Set it, and I didn't do it. Fantastic. Oh, I wasn't at the northernmost section. That is going to skew things. Starting Steve says, this is the best game out there still to this day. Well, I certainly do enjoy it. I think it's a tricky thing to like compare games one way or the other, but I do enjoy it. Okay, let's go ahead and load this back up. Okay, so we can see in the northeast, we are kind of wedged in there. It's not quite the way I would want it to be, but it's still okay. And we can follow this path much more precisely now. And we can see the cheat path would go up there. Fantastic. Come on through there. Around that. I'm going to say that is precise enough for my purposes. It is not quite there. You can see, yeah, it's definitely going to be good enough for today. And we hit a wall. Okay, cool. So, can't use a mount. That is sad. I'm just going to back my way out to the front. Yeah, the fact that I can be next to a wall here and it's a little far south, I'm not super thrilled with that. And that's where you could do a little hand tweaking. Like if we wanted to take our north position here, let's just pull that over. So our north position was 71306, and we want it to show up as if we are here, which is 713. Yeah, okay. If we want it to look like that, then what are we looking at? We're looking at a difference of that much. So what if we just add it to that and say, hey, this is actually that much more. It's not going to be correct because there's a scaling thing at play, but it's going to be closer to what we want. Maybe. Now we can see, in fact, I needed to subtract it because we're going in the other direction, I think. Yeah. So we can see now it maybe is a little bit overshooting, but you know, what if we go ahead and say minus 0.13? Okay. From here, it's not great. Let's go ahead and go as far north as is reasonable. Okay, that's fine. That's a little bit much. Okay. It's certainly better than it was on the northern half of the map. But one of the things about this, because you're changing where it thinks the perimeter is for all of these checks, the further south we get, the further weirder it could get. So if you're going to make these kind of hand changes, because you can't actually find the actual coordinates for the bounds of the map the way you can in Breland, you can just walk up to it. Yeah, test it out at the extremes of the map, see how it's going there. But I would say that's much better than it was. Maybe a little bit of overkill though. So if I were to just say, hey, minus 0.1, still a little much, 0.05. And what if we don't do that at all down in the south? Okay, so that is something we can play with. You can also play around with saying, hey, the coordinates that we have don't correspond to 0, 0, and 500, 500. They correspond to different parts. It changes the math, but it's totally fine. Lord Zach says that. I'm not sure if you're responding to me or Steve in chat. He says they're back after 8 years. Lord Zach says, I would have removed the borders. Absolutely. So part of this is because we did such a casual job of making the map. And now that we know that this might cause us more problems than we want to deal with, we can go back and recreate the map based off of where we can get to so that our actual borders are the borders of the map. I think Lord Zach has it right on. That is the right way to go about this. Now we can see on the radar map that we can get our nose right up into the corner of this inner boundary. And so what does that mean for this map, which is made a little bit more creatively? I don't know. Well, we'll see. Lord Zach says it broke? What broke? I was gone from the map. Well, the arrow does disappear after 5 seconds if you don't refresh it with a /LOC, like that. Other than that, if the arrow would render outside of the map, it goes away as well. It's no different. If none of the arrow would be visible, it doesn't render. But yeah, one of the things I put in, and Waypoint does this just by putting like a big X on it to say, oh, I'm not valid anymore, is I just fade it out. 3 seconds after you summon it, it starts a 2-second fade out, and then it's just gone. Because at that point, if you're moving around, it is no longer worthwhile. So why leave it on the map to taunt you? Okay, so we have some objectives for this. We know that these coordinates are better, but could be more precise because we can't quite get to the corners. And so we want to come into our to-do file and say, so Harvestmath stuff. We want to go ahead and update the maps with corners that match where we can get, or update the code to allow us to express corner coordinates for arbitrary x, y pairs. Cool. Okay, well, we have a working map, but we don't have a way to specify which map should be shown for the challenging wheat or the cheat of the wheat quests. And so that'll be a thing maybe we pick up on next week, is how do we detect that we haven't asked this before? Well, that's pretty easy to do. Actually, while I'm thinking about this is a good time to start wrapping up. So if you have any last minute questions, comments, concerns, now's a great time to start typing them in chat while I muse on where we're going. So we have need to ask the user to identify their number either because they know it, like if they just know it's 3, no need to make them go through this exercise, or by selecting the left and right branch features from a UI. Store that in server save because it's different for every server. Okay, once we have that, we can have logic that says, okay, today it should be map number 4, so show 4 instead of 1, or instead of 3. But that's going to be special logic for Harvestmath, and I'm not sure how we're going to encode that yet. But we may just say, has special code, and then have a if Harvestmath, then yeah, we may hard code it a little bit, and that'll be okay. Again, it's the first time we're doing this Harvestmath, day-specific mapping. Yeah, hard coding it's fine until we need something a little bit more flexible, as we've seen today. Okay, once we have a way to identify the day and have that, we will have everything we need for these 2 basic quests. Now, I believe there's also 2 other quests for pumpkins and corvids, and it's been so long since I've done them, I don't even remember what their objectives are. So I'll have to read up on that before next stream, so I can know if there's a useful way that we can help with that here in the Festival Buddy plugin. Okay. What about the other quests? Pumpkins, corvids. Neat. Okay, I'm really excited to get that done. So I might be working on this during the week, and we'll pick up wherever I leave off next time. So you may not be able to see all the development on stream, but one of the neat things about LOTRO plugins is you can always download old versions and new versions and compare what has changed. So when someone releases an update and they say, oh, nothing really has changed, you can verify that. You can do a file comparison and see like, yeah, but what about these 700 lines of code that you added? And you can always dig in and to say what's going on. Lord Zach says, it's a good thing you're working on these festival plugins because I just gave up on the Ghost House. Yeah, one of the things, I was about to do this until I got derailed by Little Redhead's bringing up this map, but I was going to do what we do for Midsummer, which is the quick guide and how we are able to embed maps and more information now. And so the quick guide, where it's just like, hey, if you want to run through the cube seal of approval guide, here's the order in which to do things. And regardless of whether you want to do that or not, whenever you get one of these things, hey, growing pains, here's the map, here's the things to do. Hey, love is in the air, here's the paths that those stupid healers walk on. Ugh. That sort of thing. So for the haunted house, I'm looking forward to having a map with specific paths for the specific quests that go in there, so that you don't have to remember these things. Although I do still, from last year, I think. Oh, so exciting. So many cool things to do with plugins in this game. I hear the game's fun, too. Okay, well, thank you very much for anyone who donated money to Extra Life during this stream. I appreciate it, whether it went to Little Redhead or just to the general Standing Stone Games team. It's awesome. Thank you so much for helping raise money for children's hospitals. Lord Zach says they're enjoying Mariner. Awesome. I have technically created a Mariner, but I can't say that I've actually played them. But the fore and aft things looks visually cool. And no new title for Durin's Day, says Tellurian. I think it's just the 3. I think you get 3 deeds for doing it once, 2, and 3 times. But I'll have to look at that. Okay. What else? Well, if I'm not out of date, then I think Mailong is coming back at 9 p.m. server time for Adventuring Back to Rohan. And that, I think, is the only other stream on Tuesdays. And with that, that is everything we are going to cover. Thank you so much for joining me on this exploration of LOTRO plugins. I do hope to see you here next week. And until then, keep plugging along. All right, bye-bye now.